you appear as that go-to expert, that go-to authority that people want to work with. So before I get into the actual secrets, I'm going to start talking about how I learned this, how it has helped me, and then I'm going to lay down the secrets for you so you have a better understanding as to how you could use this into your business. Because I understand we're all using different marketing channels, different marketing strategies, but nevertheless, we are all marketing. And these principles apply no matter, again, what platform or vehicle that you're using. So with that being said, a few years ago, I had this book by a guy named Jim Edwards. He wrote a book called Copywriting Secrets. And this is a really good book. At the time, I was going to write a sales page for something I was working on at the time. And I remember getting to like the middle of the book, and he talked about this thing called the PQRRs, right? The PQRRs. And I remember after reading it, it made so much sense. And I think the problem in the real estate industry specifically is that we're in, like, from the moment we get our license, we're taught to join masterminds with other realtors. We're taught to join groups and communities and all this stuff. And we're constantly talking to other realtors all the time about what they're doing, right? And I think the problem that a lot of realtors don't take into consideration is that everyone has a different target audience. Everyone has a different target market, right? Everyone has different laws and legislations in their specific municipalities and states and counties, and sometimes HOAs. Like, there's so many moving pieces in real estate that when you start talking to other realtors about what they're doing and you forget to take into consideration their unique set of circumstances, you're going to be trying to copy what they're doing in your market, and then you're going to be struggling to get results and struggling to figure out why it's not working because you're doing it exactly how they laid out. And I think, again, when I learned this PQRRs, it helped me shift my focus to the audience. And that was pivotal. I think I was just on a Q&A call literally the past couple of days from days I'm recording this. And on the Q&A call, I had so many people ask me questions. And everyone was asking me questions about the algorithm. Someone asked me about LinkedIn. People asked me about the difference between long form content versus short form content. But not a single person asked me any questions about how they can better resonate with their audience. Not a single one. And it's interesting because we're in the business, and again, I learned this when I first got my license, right? People do business with people they like, know, and trust. We're in the business of building rapport. And yet, when you get on these real estate calls with other realtors, none of them ever ask questions about the people that they claim to want to help. It's always questions about, again, for me, at least when I come in, about AI and social media and ChatGPT and this prompt versus that prompt, or ChatGPT versus Perplexity, or which tool is going to give me the best ideas. It's never questions about, like, hey, how can I deeper understand my audience? How can I build a better relationship with my content and with my audience through my content, right? How can I cut through the noise so that when I speak, my audience wants to listen to me? No questions that I get when I'm out public speaking or out teaching masterminds and teaching in groups. No one ever really asks about the audience, and it's baffling to me. And so, again, when I learned about the PQRRs, it made me shift my focus of how I thought about coming up with content ideas. And it made me realize that the secret to creating high converting content is to replace the word algorithm with audience. Every time you hear someone tell you about the algorithm, or how you just got to do this and the algorithm will like it more, like, you forget that there's people on the other side of your phone, on the other side of your tablet, on the other side of your laptop that are taking time out of their day to sit down and watch whatever it is that you're talking about. And so if your sole focus is just pleasing the algorithm, I don't know, it kind of, like, at least to me, kind of just feels disingenuous a little bit. It feels like, are you really in this to help people, or are you just in this to go viral, or in this to just make money, or whatever the motive may be? But it doesn't seem like you're in it to actually help people. And again, once you make that core shift of shifting the word algorithm to the word audience, it's going to change all the questions that you're asking. Instead of asking, hey, what's the best day and time to post for the algorithm, ask, hey, what's the best day and time to post that my audience is online? Right? How can I create content that the audience wants, not the algorithm wants? At the end of the day, if you create good content, people will watch it and it will get pushed out to more people, right? The algorithm, its sole purpose, regardless of what the platform is, its sole purpose is just to keep people on the platform for as long as humanly possible, right? The more people on the platform, the longer they stay on the platform, the more ads they watch, the more revenue they generate, period, right? Simple formula. And so if you can just spend all your time focusing on what is it that my audience wants and then create content around that, then that will then get you pushed out to more people. You getting pushed out is a byproduct, though. The real work gets done in figuring out what it is that your audience wants. Now, again, a couple of days ago, I was in a call, and someone on the call, they were like, hey, ask ChatGPT for the top 50 questions that my audience is asking, and come up with blog ideas and video ideas based off of those top 50 questions. And the strategy, or the principle behind the strategy, wasn't actually bad. It's actually a pretty solid idea. The part that was bad about that idea, though, is that instead of asking ChatGPT the top 50 questions, how about you just talk to your audience and figure out what their top 50 questions is from the horse's mouth, right? Go to the original source. That's where you'll get all the best information. So if you want to help, let's say, first-time home buyers, how about you talk to 50 first-time home buyers and talk to them and figure out, hey, what are they dealing with? What are they struggling with? And the more people you talk to, you'll start to eventually see a through line. Like for me, my business, I'm primarily helping realtors. Now I have lenders, I've spoken at banks before, I've spoken to beauty salons, but like no matter who I've spoken to over the past 3 to 4 years, I've been on this AI social media journey and teaching, whatever. The core through line for the people that I tend to attract is I'm not tech savvy, or I don't want to make the time, right? Every objection or excuse or limiting belief or whatever you want to call it, misconception, falls under those two buckets. And the only reason I've known that is because I've intentionally spoken to hundreds of realtors and been curious and interested in figuring out what is it that's holding them back from using these tools that they themselves agree and believe would help grow their business. What's getting in the way of that? And again, after talking to so many people throughout the past few years, it's starting to get clearer and clearer. And I still don't have the perfect solution. I'm still trying to figure that out, but it's a never ending process. So many people are trying to take the shortcut. So many people are just trying to, again, ChatGPT, hey, how can I go viral? Hey, what do I need to talk about so that my audience will like me and want to convert more? And that's the wrong approach. And the more we continue down that road, the less genuine that your content is going to feel, the less connection that you're going to make. And before I actually get into the PQRRs, the last thing I'll leave you with is not all marketing is good marketing, right? Sometimes bad marketing will do more harm to your business than not doing any marketing would. And so a lot of people, again, they're just posting to just kind of check off a box and say, I did it. I did my post for social media today. I did my, right now, the time I'm recording this, it's about to be Christmas in 2 weeks. Oh, I did my Christmas, post, or my Hanukkah post, or my Kwanzaa post, or my, Happy New Year post. They're just checking off the box. But instead, again, figuring out what is it that your audience actually wants. And then once you do that, then you can start to reverse engineer your actual content strategy. So now that I kind of got through the premise of today's video, I really wanted to hammer that down, because if you don't understand that, if you don't believe that, then you're just going to ignore everything that I'm talking about. But if you can fundamentally shift your belief that the algorithm isn't working against you, it's the audience that you have to figure out. If you can just divert all your energy, attention, your focus into figuring out your audience, that is going to take you to the stratosphere, right? And last big problem is when I usually ask, sorry, things that come to mind. When people ask me, hey, John, or when I ask people, hey, who do you help? They often respond back with the Miss America answer, I call it. I help everyone. And it sounds like such a good thing to do, because who doesn't want to help everyone? But in the marketing world, if you speak to everyone, you reach no one. So again, you could help everyone, but when you want to be intentional with your marketing, you have to double down, right? you have to double down your messaging, because else you're never going to get through any of the fog. You're never going to be able to cut through the noise. And so with that said, let's get into the PQRRs, the thing that fundamentally shifted how I approach content over the past couple of years. So again, this guy, Jim Edwards is his name, book Copywriting Secrets is where I learned it from. Now, the first letter, right, it's an acronym, obviously, is problems. What problems does your target audience have, right? So the reason why you want to know their problems is because if someone doesn't have a problem, you're going to have to convince them to work with you. For example, right now, I'm in all right shape. Like, I'm not in bad shape right now. Like, I've been in better shape. Like, when I was in training for my marathons, like, I was running, I was in shape, I was lifting, I was playing ball, like, you know, but right now I'm not at peak shape anymore. I'm also not out of shape. Like, if you wanted me to, I could probably still crush a 7-minute mile. Now, again, I'd probably be huffing and puffing afterwards, but I'm somewhere in that middle between not in my best shape, but also not in my worst shape. And so if someone were to come to me right now and was like, hey, John, I can help you get in the best shape of your life, I probably wouldn't take them up on their offer. Why? Because I don't really have a problem right now. Again, I'm pretty healthy. I'm in decent shape. There's a room for improvement? Of course. But again, I don't have a problem right now. I'm not unhealthy. I'm not out of shape, really. Now, if someone were to say, hey, John, right, my goal for 2026 is to really double down on YouTube and take this to the next level. All my time, energy, I spoke to my video editor, like, we're going to be going all in on providing high quality YouTube trainings. If someone were to come up to me and was like, hey, John, I can help you grow your YouTube channel to 10,000 subscribers and get monetized within the next 30 days, right? I'd be more willing to listen to that person, because my problem right now is growing the YouTube. I mean, I also just started, but I have a YouTube problem more than I have an out of shape problem. And so if two random people were to come to me, one asking me, hey, do you need help with getting in shape? And one asking me, hey, do you need help with growing your YouTube channel? Right now, I'm going to entertain the conversation about growing my YouTube channel, because that's a problem that I'm currently facing in my business. I don't have an out of shape problem. Again, I have room for improvement, but there's no problem there. So when you're thinking of your target audience, what are the problems that they have? One of my favorite quotes, my buddy Carl, he says, the person who solves the biggest problem catches the biggest check. So if you want to get paid more, solve bigger problems. And so again, that takes some brainstorming. Okay, what problem does my client have? And again, when I'm talking to realtors, this is why the Miss America answer does them no good, because buyers have different problems than sellers, and sellers have different problems than investors. But let's take it a step further. A first-time home buyer is different than an upgrade buyer, a second home buyer, which is different than a vacation home buyer, which is different than, let's say, a downsized buyer, right? All of them are looking to buy a home, but they're all in different stages of their life. They're all dealing with a different set of problems. So for example, a first-time home buyer, they may be dealing with down payment assistance issues, credit repair issues, saving money, budgeting issues. They may be dealing with income issues, right? Someone who's getting a second home, right? Let's say they may be dealing with starting a family, right? And they need some extra space. They may be dealing with getting rid of the first home so they can move up, right? They have a different set of problems. A vacation home buyer, they probably already own a residence, right? Now they're looking at, hey, I need to buy a home in a place that I love traveling to, but am not too familiar with, right? They probably go to this place often in the summer, but now they want to actually get a second home there. So they're going to have a different set of problems. How can I take care of the home when I'm not there half the year, right? These are all unique set of problems that all these different buyer subcategories have. And so if you try to help everyone, this is why your marketing messaging is never going to convert. Because it's so hard to understand people's problems, especially when you're trying to help everyone, because everyone has different problems. And even if they had the same problems, they have a unique set of scenarios and circumstances that they're going into these problems with. So even if they are the same problem, they're coming in it with different perspective, different scenarios, all this different stuff. So there's too many moving pieces. So once you pick your audience, figure out what problems do they have? What problems are getting in their way? One of the big problems I see in the real estate space is that there is an epidemic of infotainment, I like to call it. Right? There's too many talking heads. There's too many people teaching. I was part of a big name brokerage, and the amount of trainings they had going on every week from like 9 to 3 p.m. every day, there was probably at least 5 trainings going on every single day, Monday through Friday. And a problem that a lot of realtors have is that they're getting overwhelmed with a bunch of tactics. Now, this is a topic for another day, but there's 4 levels of teaching, right? Or 4 levels, 4 levels of teaching. There's tactics, strategies, principles, and essence. The lowest tier is tactics. That's like the step-by-step, the how-to. For example, if you said, hey, John, how do I record a video on Riverside? I'd say something along the lines of, first, you want to open a new browser, then type in riverside.com, then create a free account, then press record, right? And then start talking, whatever. That is the tactics, the actual step-by-step. And there's so many realtors out there right now that have laundry lists of step-by-steps that they're overwhelmed with and never end up doing anything with. And it's not their fault. It's just that they don't understand how it all works. They know what to do. They have the steps. But because they don't understand how everything comes together and when everything is supposed to work and how you're supposed to use it all, again, it just ends up as notes and notes and notes. So, and that's one example of a problem that I see in the industry of the people I want to help. Right, so that's the problem. That's the first acronym. Second letter in the acronym is questions. What questions is your audience currently asking? And what questions do I have? Now, again, you can take the lazy approach and try to ChatGPT or use Perplexity or Claude or whatever the AI tool you want to use. Or you can actually start doing your care call, do your DTD2, start talking to the people that you want to be in conversation with, right? And start paying attention to the things that they're asking you. And the more you pay attention, again, the clearer the through line starts to become. If you notice that you talk to 10 people and all 10 people ask you about what's the inventory like, that might be a question that you should start talking about more online. Because if people are asking you, well, there's probably other people that you haven't spoken to that are also asking that same question. And so right now, especially on YouTube, which is why I love YouTube, there's a high intent based audience on YouTube. A lot of times, especially as business owners, when we're going to YouTube, it's to solve something. How can we increase our marketing and tools to help our business, or project management software? This is one thing that I'm currently looking up right now on YouTube and figuring out, is ClickUp the right tool for me? Like, when us business owners go online, or even consumers, like, we're going on YouTube most of the time to figure something out, right? If we wanted to watch something for entertainment, we probably have Netflix for it, Peacock, Hulu, Disney Plus. But like when you're going on YouTube, usually us adults, we're going on there to solve something, to figure something out, right? And so if you figure out what the questions are and then you start creating answers to those questions, now those become your YouTube videos. Those become your blogs. Those becomes your buyer guides, your seller guides. Like, the more of these questions that you can start to figure out that your audience is asking, and the more of them that you understand, when you start getting in conversation with these people in person, like, for example, if you ask me how to create high converting content and we're at a random Starbucks, I'm in the middle of doing probably going to end up being a 40-minute YouTube video on this one concept called PQRRs. If someone were to randomly find me at a Starbucks, I guarantee you, no matter what question they threw at me, I will be better prepared now after putting my thoughts into a concise video than if I've never shared my thoughts with the world. So again, share your thoughts. A lot of this content creation stuff is just role play and practice, you articulating the things that you want to talk about. And so that's the second thing, questions. Now, quick little tool. If you do want to figure out what questions people are asking, there is a tool that's called Answer the Public. I don't have the time right now to go into in this video, but if you type in answerthepublic.com, it's a free software where you can put in a keyword and it'll show you what people are searching up based on that specific keyword. So if you typed in home buying, it will show you like all the common questions and things that people are looking up on Google with the keyword home buying. Again, free tool, not affiliated with them at all, but if you want to use it, again, I personally recommend just talk to more people. That'll give you your answers. But if you wanted a quick fix, give you a easy way out. The next thing, once you have your problems and your questions, the next thing that you want to know is, what are the roadblocks that are getting in the way? Now, there are 2 types of roadblocks, okay? The first are external roadblocks, right? So this is like legit things that are getting in the way. For example, let's say you want to drive to work today, right? You want to drive to the office, but there's construction on the only street that you can use to get access to the office. That is something that is out of your control, but it's definitely a roadblock, a literal roadblock that's getting in your way. The second type of roadblock is internal roadblocks. Now, these are usually in the form of limiting beliefs or misconceptions or however you want to word them. But for example, you might have a belief, or we're going with this office example, that if you go to the office, other people will steal your business, or other people will get a wind of what you're doing and try copying you, right? So that is a limiting, an internal belief that is a roadblock stopping you from getting to the office, right? So roadblocks, again, could be external, could be internal, but it's important that you understand both because your audience definitely has both. And I'm going to use a home buyer example now. An external roadblock could be that they have no money saved in the bank, right? That is something, I mean, it's kind of in their control, but like, you know, that's something external that like money is not a part of them is what I'm trying to get at. That is a roadblock that you can help with, for example, providing down payment assistance solutions, right? Grants, giving them access to grants or showing them where to apply for grants, showing them where to apply for a 3.5% down or 0% down, right? Maybe they have a VA and maybe they're a veteran. They use a VA loan, right? You can have solution for the external roadblocks. Internal roadblock for a first-time home buyer could be, I don't think right now is a good time to buy, right? They have this belief that they're holding on to that it's better to wait than to purchase right now. So if you can't overcome that roadblock internally, then they're not going to buy. It's so important that you understand the roadblocks that people have, because if they didn't have any, they would have already gotten what they wanted. But there's a reason that they're not. And if, for example, like again, I teach AI and social media, right, and marketing. With marketing, there is almost nothing new under the sun, right? There is so much information out there from so many people who have been in marketing longer than I've been alive. Like there's so much information already out there. And then with AI, I mean, over the past 4 years that has been like super mainstream, 3-4 years that have been super mainstream, there has been countless videos and summits and conferences. Like Tony Robbins literally this past month did a whole summit with Dean Graziosi. Like there's a lot of information to consume on AI, and it's only been out for a few years. So it's like, but if information was the only thing that everyone needed, everyone would have what they want. Everyone will be a millionaire. Everyone will be successful. So it's important that you figure out the roadblock, because there's something there getting in the way. And until that roadblock is cleared, your content is never going to land. They're never going to want to work with you because there's always going to be something holding them back, either externally or internally. And so again, the more people you talk to, the easier it's going to be to start to figure out what that is, because sometimes they'll tell on themselves, right? Sometimes they'll say something that you can start to put 2 and 2 together, like, oh, okay, that's why they believe what they believe. Oh, okay, that's the real thing. Like they said, I need to talk to my wife. Most of the time, it's not because they need to talk to their wife to make a decision. It's because there's something deeper than that, you know, and that's just kind of like the smoke screen that they talk about in sales, right? So figure out what the roadblocks are. So we covered 3 things so far: problems, questions, roadblocks. The last thing you want to figure out in this PQRR framework is the results. What results is your audience looking for? What is that dream result? And just like there are external and internal roadblocks, there are external and internal results. We call this, at least I got this from Russell Brunson, the achievement and transformation. The achievement is the external thing that people want to accomplish. For example, it could be the gold medal, the first prize, the new home, right? Those are all external achievements. The internal transformation is kind of like the reason why they wanted it. For example, they wanted to win first place because they were used to always coming in last, or they wanted to buy that first home because they come from a family of renters, or they wanted to get their first investment property because now they have something, a legacy to leave behind to their kids, right? Almost all of us have goals and things we want to accomplish and achieve, but there's always some deeper underlying reason as to why most of the cases. And if you can understand that reason why, and you can speak to that, it's just going to help you, again, create such better content. Because when people listen to you, they'll be like, yo, he just understands me. Something about John, he just gets it. He just gets it. And so one of my favorite examples is the Rocky movie, the first movie where Rocky, that kind of my famous, had the boxing scene, training, whatever. Everyone remembers that movie from young, old, and everyone in between. And the interesting part about that movie is that Rocky didn't win the first fight that it was leading up to that first movie. He didn't win the big fight. And despite that, that first movie was so successful that it led to a few others. And now Rocky is one of the biggest movie series of all times, right? One of the most successful, highest grossing movies of all time. And it's interesting because, again, he didn't even get the thing he wanted, the achievement he wanted. But because we got to see Rocky's transformation, we got to see who he became on his journey, everyone was able to love and resonate with that movie. So sometimes, people, again, just focus on helping them get goals. But if you can understand why your audience wants those goals and speak to that, just kind of what the Rocky movie did, it can help you resonate that much more with your audience, right? So we have PQRRs: problem, questions, roadblocks, and results. If you memorize this framework, take it to heart. Again, it doesn't matter if you're writing a newsletter, sending out a mailer, doing a home buyer seminar, creating a video on YouTube, going live on Facebook. It doesn't matter what the channel is. If you can just remember, all right, I gotta speak to my audience's problems, questions, and roadblocks, and or talk to their results. That's gonna give you a great advantage over everyone else who's not putting any thoughts into the content that they're putting out in the world. They're not taking the time to talk to the people that they want to help. They're not taking the time to figure out what it is that their audience is struggling with. Right? They're just ChatGPT and some content ideas and hoping that it works. Right? That is the worst thing that you could do, especially as people are starting to become more skeptical of content online. Right, with all this AI generated content, everyone's asking is this AI generated? Is this really a human, or is this? And when it's real content, they're asking if it's AI, and when it's AI content, they're asking if it's human. Right, and as this starts to continue, as AI starts to get better, authenticity and building genuine connection and genuine rapport is going to matter so much more. And so the more people you can get in the conversation with, the clearer everything's going to start to become. And how you put this all together, right, is your content. Essentially, you want it to be the bridge that gaps people's problems, questions, and roadblocks and gets them to their ideal result. That's essentially content 101, right? How can I show them that I understand their problems, questions, and roadblocks and demonstrate to them that I can get them to the result that they want? Not that if you can take that approach with all your content, it's going to make everything a whole lot simpler. And if you found anything that resonated with you in this video, put it down in the comments below. What are the PQRRs that your audience is struggling with? And if you found this valuable, you're gonna make sure to hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be posting these every single week. I know I started a little bit late this week, but I'll see you next week at 12.